are live, it seems. So we'll start. Give us just the overview of where the hurricane is and a couple of key points.
Yeah, Hurricane Florence right here. I guess the best way to look at it at this point is looking at this, the radar. And look, we got the center, the eye just offshore, about 170 miles from Wilmington. But look at the outer band. That's what we got to pay attention to. It's not about the center. So a big reminder for everybody watching this is not necessary to focus on that center. Tropical storm force winds 170 miles away from the center. And look, we've already got some of those rain bands with the winds and the rain already making landfall. So everybody has to remember it's not necessarily about that center here. It really is about the expansive nature, the large nature of the storm.
And can you give us specifics, like people in Asheville and Greenville, what can they expect?
Yeah, look with time. I mean, it's this forecast is real slow, and we get close to the coast. This is tonight. So this is tonight, 2 a.m. on Friday. This is 2 a.m. on Saturday. So very slow. So the slow movement of this storm means you're going to get more time to have those hurricane force winds and more time to have more rain. So even inland, the impacts could be significant when we really look at the rainfall. So just because you're not along the coast, you can still have some big impacts. You start looking well inland, and you can see this 10 to 15 value, even getting as far as Raleigh and Charlotte, 6 to 10 inches of rain. So you combine that over in Asheville as well. Look, 4 to 6 inches. So you combine that with the terrain. These tropical rains come down quickly, and you get some flash flooding really quick. So it's not just a coastal problem here. It really truly is. If you're inland, you need to pay attention.
So even if I'm in Asheville, like I should still be careful because, like you said, flash flooding can come in a matter of minutes, right?
Yeah, it really can. So if you look at this forecast, and the other part to remember, you look at the uncertainty of the forecast. We look at that cone, and little changes in that forecast change what happens on the ground. So if you think about Asheville, you're really close to some of these higher values. I mean, 4 to 6 inches is a lot of rain if it comes too quick. But real quickly, some of these values could change, putting you into higher amounts. So this covers generally what the values will be, but there could be some isolated amounts higher, which cause all sorts of very, very dangerous flash flooding.
And can you talk about the South Carolina coast and the North Carolina coast? What can folks expect over there?
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the coastline, of course, you're going to have this rainfall. That's one of the impacts. You look through South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, look at these values. You're talking some of these places, 20 inches of rain to 30. I've been doing this for a long time. There's some people going to get 40 inches of rain out of this, but the other part is the storm surge. It is the #1 killer when in terms of tropical systems. So the storm surge is significant for the South Carolina coast up through the North Carolina coast. Look at these numbers, 4 to 9 feet, 9 to 13 feet. And the other problem we have is with such a large storm, there's so much time with the slow nature of the system to keep pushing that water inland. So in some locations, you can actually get the storm surge, in some cases, several miles inland, which is particularly dangerous when you have all that rain that can't drain because the storm surge is blocking it.
And can you talk about the landfall? I don't know if we have. What is the expected landfall and where?
Yeah, landfall, we expect, if you look at the map here, approaching the coast tonight. But we really look at it, and it really urging people not necessarily to really focus on that center. We already have tropical storm force winds reaching the North Carolina coast as we speak. And look, by Friday afternoon, not far inland. So that means you think about the circulation of hurricane force winds. That is, approaching a day of hurricane force winds just battering the coast. So this is not a short-term event that's going to be here and gone. This is going to go into the weekend, and some of the water and flooding and the river flooding lasting well into next week.
And how big is Florence right now?
Yeah, we're looking at the tropical storm force winds 170 miles from the center, which is incredible. And that is actually represented in yellow. And that's where we can see it reaching the coast as we speak. But hurricane force winds 70 miles from the center. That's why it's so important not to just concentrate on that center of it, because look at that, 70 miles away from the center in some places, you're getting the hurricane force winds. So you could be pretty far away and still get some major impacts.
And can we talk about Isaac? For us here in Florida, where's Isaac and what is expected?
Yeah, we look like Isaac going to affect places like Martinique, so we're really looking at some development, some winds and some high rains, and then after that, looking at staying a tropical storm, but weakening with time. But I'll tell you, the Atlantic has all sorts of systems now we're keeping an eye on, including one in the Gulf as well, potentially. So they tell you, we didn't have many in August, but September's making up for lost time.
Okay, and could Florence become a Category 4 or 3 again? Is that a possibility?
You know, it's always a possibility, and what we like to say is, you know, we're not forecasting that to happen, but here's a great reminder, and this is really important because several decades of doing this. This is a point I want to make. At this stage of the game, you know, these impacts are completely independent of the category. Storm surge, it truly is about the size and the speed. So a larger storm, more impacts, and you get a slow storm, more impacts. Those are the type of things we like to talk about. So the category, that's just the wind. It doesn't talk about all the other impacts, and like I said, 90% of fatalities is the water, and that's not measured by category.
And are we going to see anything in Florida at all, like any effects from Florence, like heavy rain? Is anyone in Florida, should we be prepared for anything?
Yeah, we look at the rainfall map here. I mean, you always get some showers and thunderstorms in this tropical air mass, but for the most part, we are expecting, especially when you look at the forecast track, it looks like most of the spots we're looking at here in the forecast cone well to the north. But again, we're still in the peak of hurricane season, so not letting anybody off guard. We still need to watch the tropics really closely.
Thank you.
You bet.
I have weather, is it Weather Nation?
Yep, and probably